Today, I'm going to give you all of the information that you need to make an EDT, which is an extreme day trip. Welcome to Escape News, your go-to source for travel updates and inspiration. I'm Zoe, and I'm going to guide you through the latest stories. Now, let's dive in. What is extreme day tripping? Well, extreme day tripping is all about packing an unforgettable experience into just one day. So imagine you're waking up, you're at home, London, Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, wherever, and you're just flying to another European country, exploring its highlights and returning home the exact same evening, all without needing an overnight stay. It's the best thing that I have ever done, if I'm completely honest, in regards to my traveling. You get a brand new experience for it every time you go away. You want to cram in loads to your first day anyway, so why would you spend that money on accommodation when you can just go home for, I mean, much cheaper? It's a fast-paced, affordable, and perfect for adventurers who want to maximize their weekends or take advantage of a day off. How to plan an extreme day trip. So we're going to get straight into it. Planning an extreme day trip might sound really complicated, but it's so much easier than you think. And here's how to make it happen. Pick your destination. Choose a city that's reachable within a 2 to 3 hour flight. Think Rome, Paris, Amsterdam, or even Copenhagen. The key is finding a destination that excites you, but is also small enough to explore in a day. Destinations you would like to go to is a good idea, but dependent on availability, you might have to be flexible with this. So you also need to look at flights. There's plenty of tools and platforms that make finding affordable flights an absolute breeze. So you have Skyscanner, you can use the everywhere search feature to discover the cheapest destinations from your chosen airport. You also can search by month and then search by flight times to make sure that you arrive before averagely 11 a.m. and that you definitely leave after 6 p.m. to get the most from it. The Ryanair Fare Finder tool is also really good to use because this shows the lowest fares available based on your dates and departure airport. We also have a bunch, I'm the one that's in control of it, but there is a bunch of Facebook groups that you can also join. They're also dependent on the airport, and it's absolutely dedicated to other extreme day trippers and frequent flyers. It's very, very good because they share real-time flight deals, itinerary suggestions, and tips from experienced people that have already done this. They'll also tell you how long it takes to get you from the airport, so to the closest city. You've got to also need to account for that because there's some, with Ryanair, for example, Ryanair flies to smaller airports which are close to big cities, but then it could take you like an hour to an hour and a half to get to that big city. And that's only worth doing if your flight is really, really early in the morning and then really, really late at night. So that's just something that you'd have to weigh up as well. But plan your itinerary. It's the best thing that you could do before you go because you need to get the most out of it while you're there. Research your destination to identify the top attractions and use around 2 to 3 key sites. Maybe just think about exactly what you want to do there. You can also maybe leave an hour or two for just exploration, but leave room for meals and a bit of, well, spontaneous exploring anyway. When I was planning my extreme day trip, I used Google Maps to save it. There's a really lovely feature that you can save places under tags. So I decided to pick out things that I would be interested in and the things that the person I was traveling with would be interested in. Just tag them with a little name. It could be something as simple as vintage shop, cafe with really big cinnamon swirls, or it could be charity shop or tourist attractions. You can put the price on there. It's definitely worth doing some sort of research before you go because you want to know exactly what you can do when you get there. I understand that everyone wants a bit of spontaneity when they're traveling, but unfortunately that isn't really for extreme day trips, bar like food. You've got to make sure that you know what time you're having to leave for the airport and what time you're going to arrive, etc. extreme day tripping can be totally relaxed. Don't feel like you have to have everything planned to the second. I have done an extreme day trip. I think I've done a few actually. But it's just where you pack in everything you possibly can in one day. You could also do something like a walking tour, because that would give you a really good example, but then you could also arrange your own walking tour. So it is really easy to do, but let's get into how easy it really is. Extreme day tripping has become more than accessible. It's crazy. The early flights, there's so many budget airlines like Ryanair and EasyJet, and they offer really early morning departures and late evening returns. It's giving you a full day to explore around. There's affordable fares for this thanks to low cost carriers. You can often actually find flights for less than £50. If you look right, you can definitely get them even less than that, because you can put budgets and filters. And if you look at the right time, if you're someone that's quite flexible, maybe you work for yourself, maybe you have a bit of flexible time off, maybe you have a sick day. I didn't say that. But there's so many ways that you can definitely get your money's worth for it. And I mean, flights are so cheap nowadays that you might as well go for it. But there's so many compact destinations, the European cities that are all connected, and you can just jump around with the travel, and they're all walkable. Like every European city I've been to has been walkable. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of them are definitely hilly, but they're all walkable, and it's really easy to maximize your time while you're there. There are multiple websites and tools to help you. So there is extremedaytripping.com. It's an amazing resource for discovering a pre-planned day trip and tailored itineraries. And then we also have the Extreme Day Trips UK. So this one that I'm showing you now, this one they already arrange everything for you. So this can be on the pricier side, but if you're someone that doesn't really like travel planning but does like the travel, you could use something like this, and they'll tell you where you need to go. These do say overnight stays on them, but there is some that isn't an overnight stay. It's definitely worth checking out. Do your research. It's so worth it in the end. And then you can also use Skyscanner, which is ideal for finding flights that fit within your budget. Ryanair Fare Finder is perfect for uncovering hidden gems with really cheap fares. You can budget this the way you want. You put in your airport, you put in where you want to go, or anywhere, to be honest. Put in your budget. Now, if you're someone that doesn't mind spending the extra money, you could put the 80, you could put the 60, you could put 50, and just go from there. To be honest, every time I do it, I always put £20. I want to know what the cheapest is. And then you can do trip length, date range, one way, returns. Don't forget, if you want to do a one way, when you go through, for example, let's just pick this one, you can add a return flight at the bottom, and you can see the outgoings and ingoing prices of the flights. You can view it by month. You can click on it this way. It's really good to use. I don't know why mine's coming up with European prices, but it's fine. Yours will probably come up British. However, it's such a good tool to use. You really need to utilize this, even if you're not doing an extreme day trip. Utilize the Ryanair Fare Finder. It is absolutely amazing. So also we have trip.com. So with trip.com, if you are a new member, you can actually get on average £10 to £15. They do change it off your flight, which means you could genuinely get flights for like £4. Like, I know it sounds silly, but if a flight is £14 and you're getting the £10 off, you can get that for them £4, 20, 10, etc. It's really good for extreme day trips. Trip.com is massive in other countries. I have seen it all over, especially in Southeast Asia and Singapore, for example. They have a hub over there, but it's not as popular in the UK. I do think that a lot of people need to use it more. It is perfectly safe from what I'm aware of. I've used it to go to Thailand, I've used it to go to Copenhagen, and each time I've got money off my flight, and it's been totally worth it. There is a referral system, so if you want to go down, there's a link below which will get you £10 off your flight. Sometimes, like I said, they do a £15 one, but that's when you're a new person. I don't always think that works. But yeah, you can just click the link below and it will tell you whether it's a £10 or £15. My link at the moment actually says that you can get up to €60 off flights. So I think that maybe the time now is to utilize it and get some money off those January escapes that you need. And also, please do not forget that when you're booking with trip.com, you need to make sure that it's coming as pounds rather than your euros or wherever you're flying to. If it is in euros, do not forget to pay with a credit card. You need that protection, you need that coverage. Make sure you check with your credit card on whether international fees are chargeable or not. And if you've got a credit card where they charge you, get a credit card where you do not get charged for international fees. It is needed. There is hundreds out there. For example, Barclaycard, Monzo, I'm trying to think of some more off the top of my head, but there is plenty out there. Just go to something like Money Saving Expert and put it in on there. There is absolutely loads. And there's also the post office one, which is one that I can't forget about. I've never really used it, but a lot of people use that. It's a prepaid card. Definitely worth doing. So save yourself some pennies. Also, please do not forget that you can actually earn money back from your flights with sites like Quidco and Cashback. There's a link for that in my bio as well. It's really worth doing because it just gives you that extra £10-15 that you can spend on a meal out there instead. Another site that is worth noting is Google Maps. And like I said, this bookmark feature, look how many bookmarks that I have got. And you zoom out and you can see them all. So for example, when I went to Venice, I bookmarked everywhere I wanted to go, what I enjoyed. So this place, for example, I left a little note. See if I can find it. I'm not sure if I can find it. But anyway, this place was a really good place for Aperol Spritz. So it's just easy to save stuff like that. And it's really, really good. So when you do go, people have done day trips to Venice, just to let you know. It is really easy, but you can save all this stuff on what you want to see and just go from there. So, and once you click on it, for example, here, if you did leave a note, you can just see it here, cheap gondola. It's also a really good place for the sunrise and sunset there. And it just works really well that way. So I'd really recommend that you do this for your day trips or also just normal run-of-the-mill days. I mean, did I do it in Rome? I must have not done it in Rome, but Rome was different. I made an itinerary plan and I put it as massive hack for you. Make an itinerary plan on something like Canva and make it your phone screen background so you cannot forget what you're doing for the day. It's dead easy to just turn your phone around and see what you have got planned for the day, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Another way to utilize Google Maps is by planning your routes between attractions and transport hubs and local travel apps. There's so many city apps that have use for the metro systems, bike rentals, or even city guides to help you navigate efficiently. I've used so many city apps for discounts on attraction tickets or for guides, or there's been walking tour ones. There's plenty to do. So let's talk a little bit about my experience with an extreme day trip. So I went to Rome for my extreme day trip, and going back onto the screenshot that I was talking about with Canva, I decided that I would plan my day out. So I did it on a normal Word document at first. I just put what time the flight arrives, the flight number, etc., where we arrive and how long it takes to get from the airport to the city. Now I did put a couple of options on there because Rome isn't the easiest one to go to, because if you go there you do need to actually account for an additional taxi price. It is averagely €30 both ways. Alternatively, you can get the train, but it does add on at least an hour to your day trip, and I just don't think that it's worth it. For our day trip, I found that it was actually better off to spend the money on a taxi because we got so much more for it. So I made this plan out and we started off with arriving at the airport, we got a taxi. So we headed over to Vatican City and it was amazing, beautiful. We went inside. Now, we didn't go up to the towers or anything because we wanted to account for the time that we had in Rome. So we did go across the road and we treated ourselves to a little coffee and breakfast before we decided to make the 20 to 30-minute walk over to the centre. So we decided that we wanted to do our own walking tour, and I directed us to certain points. So we went to the Trevi Fountain and we went to the Colosseum. We did see a couple of bits and bobs on the way, and this is what I mean by freestyling, spontaneous trips if you plan everything out. So yes, we could have done a walking tour, and yes, we could have seen a lot more maybe than we did, or maybe we couldn't, but we would have been absolutely exhausted and we would have had no time for food. So we did our own walking tour, and on the way we saw some pretty amazing sculptures and things that we probably wouldn't have seen on the walking tour. And then once we got to the Colosseum, we had a lovely little Aperol Spritz, and it felt really refreshing to finish our day there. Now, I do have to give you a little bit of advice on my Rome trip. Taxis are really hard to come by, so on your way back, you're going to struggle to get a taxi. There is Uber and there is Bolt, but it's really hard to get one, especially when you're near the Colosseum. So I recommend that you leave plenty of time to get a taxi. You maybe go out of the centre, try and not do any rush hour tactics, and if so, it might just be easier to actually get a train back to the centre. But we did Rome for less than £100 each. It was really easy. I went with my mum and my dad. We had an absolutely amazing experience, and I'd recommend it 100% again. Also decide whether you like the city and you can go back again. So going into the nitty gritty of it, if you want to find your own flights and deals, and if you prefer to do everything in your own research, then relying on the pre-planned trips from places like the Extreme Day Trips and extremedaytrips.com, here's how to find the best deals. So flexibility is absolutely key. You need to use Skyscanner's flexible date feature to find the cheapest days to travel. Consider midweek trips, which are often cheaper than weekends, and be spontaneous. Please just set up the fare alerts for your preferred destination. You need to check Ryanair or EasyJet for last minute deals. Stay organized. Make sure that you book early morning flights for maximum time at your destination. Check that the airport's transport connections are really easy so you can hit the ground running when you land. And also, tips for a stress-free extreme day trip is pack light. Okay, you only need to bring essentials to avoid baggage fees and save time at the airport. You only really need a bag for the day and maybe some spare underwear just in case of emergencies. You never know what's going to happen. People have been stuck on extreme day trips before and been given overnight accommodation. But prioritize your time, focus on 2 to 3 attractions than trying to fit the whole city in. Set alarms to keep track of your return flight time and factor in your travel time to the airport. Also, eat local. Like, save time by grabbing street food or eating at little cafes near attractions. It's so worth it because the food that you could enjoy while you're there. I've had some of the best food from random places and the best Aperol Spritz from a random street in Venice that I just stumbled across. But why you should try extreme day tripping, if I've not already made it clear, it's more than just a budget friendly way to see the world. They're thrilling and spontaneous, and it allows you to make the most of your time here, whether it's a quick getaway to Rome or a last minute trip to Paris. The memories that you create will literally last a lifetime. And also, people think it's so cool when you say, oh, I've just done an extreme day trip. What's an extreme day trip? I've never heard of that. Oh, I just went to Rome for the day. What do you mean you went to Rome for the day? It's just a massive conversation starter. It makes you look a little bit groovy, and it's so worth it because it's so good. You escape the like the horrible weather, for example, and you escape life and just get the most out of it. You're only here once, and I think everyone should just grab the opportunity to travel as much as they can. But if you're ready to plan your next adventure, please let me know in the comments below where you're thinking of going. Thank you so much for tuning in to Escape News, where every day is a journey. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that can inspire your next adventure. Until next time, safe travels, happy exploring, and I wish you the best. And I really hope that you do an EDT. It is life changing.